Hello everyone, welcome to another video on economy series by Precision Academy. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about universal basic income, and this topic is being presented by me Dinesh. So in the video, let us break down what the video is going to look like. So in the video, I am going to be discussing about what UBI is and scenario of UBI in India and some model questions and benefits of UBI, demerits of UBI, and challenges in India, and other aspects related to the topic. So let us get right into it without any delay. What is UBI? Universal Basic Income is a model in which certain amount of cash is being provided to the citizens of a nation regardless of their income, resources or employment status. So no matter what kind of a person the citizen is, whether he is employed or unemployed, whether he has a very high income or very low income, or whether he has a lot of resources or no resources at all, the government, in an ideal case of UBI, pays everyone a fixed salary. Consider it like a fixed salary with no work to be done. So that is basically what UBI is all about. So UBI has been implemented in countries like Kenya, in Brazil, in Finland, in Netherlands, in either in a partial scale or on a full scale. And in all of these cases, it showed positive results in terms of standards of living for the people who are being benefited and the economy as a whole. Coming to India, in Madhya Pradesh, between 2011 and 2012, 6,000 people from 8 villages, including children, have been provided a basic income per month by UNICEF in coordination with some NGOs. And this resulted in improved sanitation of the villages and homes, nutrition of children and adults alike, and better school attendance of children, which are very positive results. So, moving on. Questions. Universal basic income aims at achieving Mahatma Gandhi's objective of wiping every tear from every eye. In this backdrop, explain the concept of UBI and discuss how it is expected to achieve the stated objective. Or, another very interesting and very relevant question, in light of the current COVID 19 pandemic and the instability surrounding the world economy in general and Indian economy in particular, UBI can prove to be an effective solution to quell the crisis. Discuss. So, in order to write the and answer questions like these, we have to have a basic understanding of what the whole idea of UBI is about, the and various benefits and demerits associated with it, and what the situation of UBI as far as India is concerned. So let us go deep into those topics right now. So India and UBI. As per the Economic Survey of 2016 to 2017, UBI scheme has been flagged as a conceptually appealing idea and a possible alternative to social welfare programs targeted at reducing poverty. So here the operating word is conceptually. So it that means it is good in concept but not so much in theory. Sorry, my bad. In practice, it is good in concept as in theory, and it is not so good in practice. So that was the opinion expressed in Economic Survey of 2016 to 17. But the Economic Survey, no matter what, takes a little deeper dive into the topic, and it is understood from the Economic Survey that an amount of rupees 7,500 has to be paid per year to the people, and this has been decided on the basis of Suresh Tendulkar's poverty line estimation of 2011 to 12, which has been adjusted to inflation in 2016 to 17. So, by the estimation of a poverty line, it has been decided by Economic Survey that 7,500 rupees should be paid to the people per annum in order to in order for them to benefit from the scheme and to improve their lives during the process. But there are some catches with the issue. So the first one being that it only has to be implemented with 75% universality. That means the top 25% is left out because of their relative well-off status compared to the bottom 75%. So only the bottom 75% of the country is going to receive the 77,500 rupees amount of payment per annum. But this cost of paying 75% of the people a sum of 7,500 rupees actually accounts for about 4.9% of our GDP, which is very expensive to say the least. And hence there has been no political will and no steps to implement the universal basic income idea as a whole in the country. But the idea of universal basic income is not entirely new. So there are schemes like NOAPS, which is National Old Age Pension Scheme, IGNWPS, which is Indira Gandhi National Widower Pension Scheme, and IGNDPS, which is Indira Gandhi National Disabled Person Scheme. So this pays a fixed pension to old age people, and this scheme pays pension to widows, and this scheme pays pension to disabled people. So pension is basically nothing but a cash payment that is being done to eligible and limited group of people in these schemes. And in Andhra Pradesh, a scheme known as Raitu Bharosa, and in Telangana, a scheme known as Raitu Bandhu are being implemented by the respective state governments, which pay farmers cash benefits, which are given out to only a certain eligible group of people who are farmers, and no other person is going to get money if they are not a farmer. So these kinds of schemes, which are not entirely universal, but they give out certain basic income to certain eligible group of people. So it is not entirely a new and novel concept. So let us look at some of the characteristics of UBI. UBI is periodic in nature, which means it has to be paid at regular intervals, like say once a month or once a year. Payment in cash is preferred. So payment is always made in cash and not as food supplies or goods, etc., as is the case with PDS systems. And individual is the beneficiary, not households, which means no matter the number of people in a household, everybody will be eligible. In an ideal world, everybody is eligible for UBI. It is universal in nature, which means there will not be any discrimination based on political, social, and financial status. So none of these factors are going to play a role in determination of eligibility for universal basic income, and it is unconditional, irrespective of income or prospects of job. So if a person has an income or does not have an income, they still get paid UBI, and even if they have a job, or even if they are about to get a job, or even after those unemployed people get a job, they are still paid UBI in the ideal case scenario that is being discussed as of now. So benefits of UBI. Let us look at some of the benefits of UBI. UBI is going to ensure social justice, which will reduce societal exploitation. So if people don't have to put themselves at risk and put themselves at the risk of being exploited for low and meager wages because of the safety net that is given out by UBI, there will be higher chances of social justice, and it is obviously going to reduce the societal exploitation. it will supplement the poverty alleviation programs. If applied in conjunction with any other poverty alleviation programs, it is going to heavily supplement the poverty alleviation programs. It treats poor as agents of change by providing them with the choice to use the money. So people are paid directly in cash and in no other form, and they are free to use it in whatever form they choose and on whatever necessity they choose, in and on whatever they choose. So some can spend it on their education, some can spend it on improving their standard of life by purchasing any goods and services they need, and some can spend it, lend it out to people who are in need. It's all up to the people, and that is how poor are, poor are being treated as agents of change. It increases the bargaining capacity of poor for better employment and wages. So if there is someone out there who is paying them a fixed income without even having to work, people can obviously leverage that and ask people who are employing them to pay more wages and better employment. And due to universality, it is not affected by administrative inefficiencies such as exclusion errors and leakages. So, because it is universal, there need not be a heavy exercise to determine who is eligible and who is not eligible, and thereby that is going to avoid a lot of costs involved and a lot of effort and a lot of errors which might creep in by where eligible people are made not eligible and vice versa. So there are no such issues in case of universal basic income because it is universal in nature and by default every person is eligible for it. And some more let us look at some more benefits. It acts as an insurance against shocks such as health emergency, job loss, crop loss, or natural disasters. So it can act and protect people against unexpected emergencies and issues like these. It increases financial inclusion, resulting in formal credit accessibility. So, what we mean by financial inclusion is that people are going to receive fixed cash deposits in probably their bank accounts, resulting in everybody being included in the financial system and them resulting and that is also going to result in the fact that they are going to have a fixed income, thereby they whereby they become a part of formal credit system and a formal economy. And especially given the fact that 90% of Indians are in informal sector or employed informally, it becomes very interesting fact for us to consider that all of these people are going to become a part of formal sector wherein they receive monthly fixed payments, and that is significantly going to add to their quality of life. It increases the psychological well-being in terms of happiness, life satisfaction, and stress, leading to increased productivity. So if people don't have to worry about the fact that how they're going to earn money for the next week or next month or how they're going to meet their needs and necessities, they have a major part of stress taken out from their lives, which is going to lead to more happiness, more life satisfaction, and less stress, leading to an increased productivity on an individual level and on a major economical level, as in the terms of speaking in terms of entire country. It helps poor to improve their human capital, that is education, skill development, which will enhance their employability prospects. So by giving them a choice and a way to spend their own money in the fashion they like, we can actually empower them to improve their education and skills. And it empowers women, leading to better child development in terms of education, health, and food security. So if women are empowered, it means that children are also empowered. So women basically take care of children, which is going to contribute to the fact that children are going to be better developed in terms of their education, health, and food security. Demerits of UBI. One form of criticism of UBI is that if everybody is paid a fixed amount of salary, it removes the incentive to work because of the fact that they're getting free salary. People are more likely to find work meaningless when it is no longer their main source of income. So if this is an extension of the above point, and it basically states that if you get paid without doing any sort of work, why bother about working? Such a scheme would be too costly to be feasible, and this is probably a very important limitation or a demerit of UBI. And in case of India, it is 4.9 percentage of GDP, as estimated in the economic survey of 2016 to 2017, which is a very high amount in case of any country, and particularly in case of a developing economy and country like India. So giving everyone money would lead to excessive inflation. So if everybody is paid money, there is going to be a decrease in value of money, which would lead to higher inflation. Basic income would worsen poverty and inequality. So another important problem with UBI is that it has a one size fits all approach, which is not ideal. So let us say A is poorer than B, and A is paid X amount of rupees and B is also paid X amount of rupees, they are still going to remain unequal. So there is still going to be inequality which exists between A and B. Gender disparity induced by cash. So this is a very unfortunate problem, and men are going to be in control in most of the scenarios where people are paid a universal basic income, and men are going to be in control, and thereby men are going to improve more than women in terms of the cash they spend, and that is not only going to affect women but also the development of children, which is a huge problem that needs to be accounted for. And there are political implications. Excessively high levels of UBI or NIT would be promised by politicians to garner support. So here there is a new term which is NIT. NIT basically means negative income tax, which simply means that rather than you paying money to the government in the form of income tax, the government pays you money back as negative income tax, which is nothing but the idea of UBI. So the terms UBI and NIT might be used interchangeably. So excessively high levels of UBI would be promised by politicians to garner support, which means every new politician is going to come along and offer higher and higher UBI, which is going in order to garner support from people, which is going to lead to huge political and economic implications if they end up coming into power. So increased costs from higher levels of welfare tourism. Welfare tourism is the phenomenon where people from other countries immigrate in the hopes of a better life, and in the hopes of a better life in the new country they are choosing to immigrate to. And welfare tourism is a major issue because these group of people are only coming to the country because of the lucrative effects of UBI, and they might lead to higher costs, which is not going to be good for the economy in the long run. Basic income makes people more reliant on the state. So if people are being paid cash by the state for no work, then they are going to become more and more reliant on state, is one of those criticisms upon UBI. Male dominant spending, as we have discussed earlier, men are going to be in control of the money in most of the cases, which is very unfortunate given the fact that everybody needs to have equal access to money and developmental programs. So men are going to dominate the scenario, which might lead to male dominant spending and other issues like vices of men, which are like might be promoted, like smoking and drinking, etc., etc. So this is going to be detrimental on the economy and on the individual families that are being given out UBI in the long run and in the short run. Exposure to market risks. So cash versus food. So let us say, so if people are being paid in cash and not in, say, food or goods, or food or other goods, there is a chance that this money is going to lose value due to economic risk. And this loss in value, if not accounted for properly by the economy and by the government, people might be losing out on the benefits that they are getting by means of UBI, rather the benefits they could be getting by means of, say, food or goods provided in lieu of cash. So that is another issue that needs to be taken care of. And and most importantly, let us also pay attention to some challenges with UBI in India in particular, taking India into consideration. So India has a very large demography, like we all know. So which means giving out payments to such a large demography would tighten the cash flow for other operations, other important operations like infrastructure development and renewable energy, etc. So this could lead to a problem where if a lot of people are being paid a lot of money, there might be tightened cash flow for other important aspects. So JAM Trinity's proper implementation is also an important aspect to ensure proper delivery. So as we all know, JAM Trinity stands for Jandan, Aadhaar and Mobile. So this is another important point that is noted by Economic Survey. Though we have made a lot of progress in JAM Trinity, we still need a lot of ground to cover, and we also have a lot of ground to cover. So which means we have to ensure that this is properly implemented before we can take a step towards universal basic income. And this is another very interesting point. So we have seen a question earlier which asks us to examine how UBI meets wipe every tear from every eye policy of Mahatma Gandhi. But Mahatma Gandhi also had this policy where he was strictly against free money. So he wanted people to work for money. So Gandhiji was a very huge proponent, a very huge preacher of people having to work and earn their own money by any means they can. So this goes in favor of Gandhiji's one of Gandhiji's sayings, that which is wipe every tear from every eye, but it also goes against Gandhiji's will, which is people should be working for their own money and free money is never a good thing. And this particular spirit is embodied by MGNREGA. So Gandhiji has this policy that wealth without work is one of his 7 deadly sins. So you can refer what his other 7 deadly sins are, but one of his very important and one of his first deadly sin is wealth without work. And acceptance in society. People will not be supportive of everyone getting the same treatment given the amount of inequalities. So this 75% of population in India is not same. There are some very unfortunate people who fall into the bottom 5% or bottom 10%, and so on and so forth. So these people at the bottom rung of ladder would not accept the fact that they are treated in a similar fashion to those who are relatively in a better position than these people. So this would lead to a problem of acceptance in society, thereby complicating issues for UBI. And so if we are writing a question on writing an answer to a question on UBI, we need to have certain useful quotes to conclude our question with, and one such quotes could be, extreme poverty anywhere is a threat to human security everywhere, which has been said by Kofi Annan. So it basically means that if people are facing difficulties and if people are facing hardships anywhere, especially due to poverty, it is going to be a detrimental fact to human security and human happiness everywhere. And we all know that Kofi Annan is the 7th Secretary General of United Nations. So this is one useful quote by which we can conclude any questions or answers that we write upon the topic, that is UBI. So if you have any doubts, you might reach out in the comment section below. We'd be happy to help you out. And thank you very much for joining us in today's session. You can reach out to us on www.precisionacademy.in, and the following are our phone numbers on which you can reach out to us for any queries regarding to our mentorship program or training program or any other information that you might like. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in the next one.